with the new CBA, you imagine the competitive balance tax threshold is going to go up a little bit, and with the money that you have from players who are leaving this year, you probably can spend some money and get below the competitive balance tax level. Are you guys committed to spend some money if you see that there's an area to do it?
Haven't had any ownership discussions, and certainly have no idea what the CBA is going to be like. I know that there have been very private conversations going on with Central Baseball and the union, but I mean private in the fact that I know they're going on, but private in the fact that I have no clue where and what is taking place. So we're all we'll be waiting to be told what a new deal looks like whenever they strike a new deal, and then we'll have to obviously get educated on it and see how it reflects on us.
And I know in the past one of Hal's objects has been to get below that level. Is it still one of his objects?
I would, without question, say that it is, because under the current system, we're penalized the most because of obviously where we sit in the payroll side of it, and how it's it's been punishing, so to speak. So I think that we'd certainly be very interested, as we have been, in resetting that clock and not being in a position to lose more money than other clubs because we're penalized more than anybody else.
Yeah, because of the repeater tax, right?
Correct.
Right. And finally, on a season where you won 84 games, the wild card winners won 88. And you could look at a whole series of games this year that you could have won one way or another to get to at least 88 and maybe even to 90. I know you elucidated some of the areas, but where do you think the areas of weakness were that caused you to lose just that handful of games?
I mean, I think our offense was, we have a negative run differential. Our offense, was bad. We had a bad offensive team. Again, there was area of weakness, I think, in the middle relief, trying to get to when we were a different, bullpen before the trade deadline. We had trouble getting to the 7th, 8th, and 9th. And then after the deadline, we still, that 5th, 6th inning range was something that, we had a lot of different names coming and going, but we had trouble navigating the entire year on that. And so offense and that particular area, we did bring in different players after once the trades went down, and so Warren and Clippard came in and did a great job and supporting Betanzas. But at the end of the day, the offense was by far the biggest problem for this team. Consistently scoring runs and putting enough runs on the board, and that's the bottom line.
Ron and Mark.
Given the direction you guys embarked in the summer and wanting to give the prospects a chance, would you say this winter and maybe the following winter you'd be less likely than usual to pursue the big name, most expensive free agents?
I can't say that. I think those things evolve over time. If I was sitting here in front of you last year and speculation about would we trade for Aroldis Chapman, I wouldn't be able to say that either. Again, the way conversations, or a different name, Starlin Castro, which we acquired in December at the winter meetings. You just don't know where these dialogues take you. Dialogues with opposing teams, with agents, and then with ownership. So the winds of change are always blowing, and you just want to make sound, good, informed decisions. And that takes some time, and that takes a lot of dialogue outside the organization and within. So I don't know. I can't predict at this time. I do know that it's my job to make sure that we decipher every opportunity, whether it's low-hanging fruit or the most expensive fruit out there. And so then we'll game plan based on as much information as we can gather and provide and suggest, and then Hal Steinbrenner will set the dance step.
Mark.
Cash, what is the status of your coaching staff right now?
everybody signed except for Larry Rothschild. His contract expired. I'm going to meet with Larry today, and I'd like to have Larry back. I don't have interest in recommending any coaching changes, and but Larry and I have to talk still. We haven't talked yet. So.
And you mentioned Severino before. How do you see him going forward? Do you still look at him as a future top of the rotation type starter, or did this year change your opinion of that, especially after seeing what he did in the bullpen?
Well, the bullpen side of it's not changing anything for me. That's where guys go when they can't, consistently be quality starters at this level. And so, I certainly hope that he, can be a starter for us as we move forward. But the game will show us that. Certainly, you got to factor in and keep in mind his age. I think off the top of my head, he's 22, approaching 23. I think it's like 22.6 off the top of my mind. Whether it is the case or not. But at the end of the day, I have to have patience. Have to be objective that way. There's a starter profile ceiling to him. But, you'd have to admit that based on watching what you saw this year and the difficulty of him, regaining that changeup, the extended period of time for him to reconnect to his slider that, was an inconsistent pitch, the fastball command, all those different things that essentially, if you're a student, you go back and do your homework to, brush up for your test so you can master the next test. He was unable to do that from the starting spot all year long. What the reasons are for all that, is it just, growing pains, age-related? I don't know. Getting on the wrong side of the mountain and losing some confidence and having trouble getting it back when you're in the American League East during a pennant race. I don't know what. I think he's a mentally tough kid. I think he's a very physically gifted player. But you also have to pay attention to what you saw this year, and that has to be factored into an evaluation. So all I can tell you is I hope he can regain starter ceiling status. He'll get that opportunity, whether it's in New York or at Scranton next year, remains to be seen. Only he'll dictate that. The game will tell us. And then over time, if he eventually winds up in the pen because of it, because he can't seem to have that consistency, then that's what ultimately where he'll settle. So I do believe he's a major league pitcher, but the hope is he'll be a major league starter. That's something we need.